All right, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome to another session of the Kava podcast. The session live out of San Francisco on this beautiful Friday night. We have a special guest tonight. As you guys can see on the screen, we have a special guest. Me and Monica, we're going to have a great discussion, a great topic to discuss, and she's here to join us to share her experience and her story, specifically on the topic we're going to discuss tonight. As always, I appreciate you guys always tuning in for my Friday night shows. But as always, get your popcorn ready. Let's get it.
What are we arguing about?
A man is gonna do what a man wants to do.
All on your wrist. Make you my wife, you no longer my bitch.
Let's get it. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show, the number one Polynesian podcast in the world.
Dripping in Versace. All these other hoes trying to copy.
Women tend to bounce around in relationships. They can't stick and stay in a long-term relationship.
Again, don't agree with this. Just
So let's say, are you still in it? Are you still in it?
no. So you're basically saying I'm a whore.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised.
So I just wanted to take the time and make this video to apologize to absolutely nobody. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Kava podcast, the Friday night the session, where we focus on Pacific Islander topics within our community. We have a special guest tonight, Kayla. I'm excited to have her on tonight, and we're gonna have a great discussion, and she gets to share part of her story. But as always, to people who tune in to my live shows, thank you so much. You guys already know what to do. If you find value in my content, don't forget the best way you can support me is smash that like and subscribe button real quick for the algorithm, so that way it can reach more viewers. Of course, as always, this is a live chat. Let's get that live chat popping. Definitely want to hear what you guys think, and of course, say hello, so show some love, show some support on the live chat to get that live chat popping. And of course, this is a public show to everybody out there to support me on my locals. So if you do want to definitely support my journey, support my podcast, the best way to support me is subscribe to my locals. The link is in the description of the video. You'll be able to have exclusive access to exclusive content, direct access to me. And also one of the perks is you can be able to jump on as a public guest on the Friday night and the Saturday night shows. So if you do want to jump on tonight's conversation and podcast, sign up, become a supporting member on my locals, and you definitely be able to see the link there, and you'll be able to jump on. And I appreciate every single person that subscribes to my locals to support me on my podcast, so I can give you guys the best quality content. But nevertheless, that's pretty much all my YouTube stuff. As always, I appreciate you guys. But we'll go right into it. We have a great discussion to have, and we have a special guest joining us tonight. But we'll go right into it, and I'll just pass it back to you, Monica. Let's start and get this conversation started. Go ahead.
All right. Kayla. Okay. So please introduce yourself for us. Obviously, you guys know my name is Monica here Fridays. But go ahead, Kayla, introduce yourself for folks out there that's going to be watching this.
Okay, so my name is Kayla, and I am Monica's cousin. We just found each other, I want to say, in 2020. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So I was adopted, and during the pandemic, I decided that taking one of those ancestry DNA tests would be kind of just fun. And my original goal was to see if I had any siblings, and I was lucky enough to find Monica. And in that, finding my mom's side, also finding my father's side. It's been a wild journey, but a fun one nonetheless. And getting to do things like this with you, just sharing your passion for public health and just getting to know everybody has been a really fun time.
OMG, sis. I love you. Okay, so and I honestly just want to like let folks know, yes, this is my family on both sides. So she's like my sister cousin. I don't know if people understand that, but we are related on both sides, but nobody's related. All right. It's like if somebody, if you had like a friend, right? And that friend, like if you had a friend and you did, had a relationship with that friend, and that friend had a brother or sister and had a relationship with your brother and sister, and then you guys both had children, it would be some like whole ass country shit. But like, but really, yeah, no. So she is my sister cousin, and Kayla found us in 2020, and we were so happy because a lot of us understood that Kayla was here, but we didn't know how to find her because it was a closed adoption. And so we're excited, but more so, it's been a couple years now, and the connection is real. Like, I don't think I've ever not known somebody for so long, but when I meet them, known them right away. Not only that, but Kayla and I are about 1 month apart. So Kayla's 1 month younger than myself. And so our moms are pregnant at the same time. And so I think that this in itself is kind of like one of those like, whoa, right? So,
Definitely.
sis, I want to like just, like tell us your story. I mean, I know your story a little bit, actually a lot of it, but like tell folks your story about being brought up out here, in Santa Cruz. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's crazy because hell, right?
Right. Right.
Street in Santa Cruz
Mm-hmm.
by a, American family.
Yeah, so that was kind of a trip finding out you guys were right there, right? So yeah, I was brought up in Santa Cruz. I was adopted by a Hawaiian man and a Caucasian woman. My dad was born and raised in Oahu, and he came to Santa Cruz in the late 60s, I want to say. And my mom was born and raised in Fremont. And back then it was like cow tipping country, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, being brought up outside of the culture was a lot to take in. Meeting you guys and just learning so much at an older age, right? Like I wasn't young when we met, and I didn't unfortunately know too much about any of that. So being brought up, I identified more with the Hawaiian culture than I did with the Tongan. I actually hadn't met anybody who was Tongan until I was 27, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I had met.
Who did you meet that was Tongan when you were 27?
Okay, so randomly, it was a guy at work.
Oh,
Yeah, he asked me, he was like, "Hey, are you an Islander?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Are you Tongan?" I said, "Uh-huh." And I just kind of kept on doing my thing, and he was like, "Yeah, me too." I was like, "Okay." Like, I didn't know what to say. To be completely honest, I didn't realize how special it was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, there aren't, I mean, there are in the cities, right? But not in smaller towns. I'd never even, it had never crossed my mind that it was something special.
Yeah.
So this guy is just like, "Oh, so excited." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm sure he's just looking at me like, "Okay, well, all right, I'm going to go." But,
Right.
no, it was it was a great experience. I had a really great upbringing. My family is fantastic. Unfortunately, I lost my dad, in 2008. But, it was really special finding you guys and being able to see somebody who looked like me. I think you and I had that conversation not too long ago about just different industries and not having the ability to see yourself in really any films or TV or anything like that up until recently, right?
Yeah.
So growing up in Santa Cruz was kind of a little bit like that.
Mhm.
I went to Aptos High, I went to Santa Cruz High, but you're constantly just kind of the only person who looks like you. there,
Yeah. What did
and
they think you were? Were you like the only person of color at your high school, or like were you the only Tongan?
I was the only Tongan. I actually got in on an inter-district transfer. I was supposed to go to Watsonville High, and my mom wasn't fond of that area,
Yeah.
so she had to put it in for an inter-district transfer for me. Because at the time they had to have so many ethnicities in their schools. So being like the only one to check that box, they let me in pretty quickly.
Mhm.
um,
That's dope. That's dope.
yeah, it was different. I had some hard times because I look like I do. Um,
Mm. What
a
do you
lot
mean
of
by that, sis? What do you
um so okay, I don't think I've ever told this story really to many people. So in high school, I had a guy who found out that I was Tongan, which he didn't know what that meant or where we're from, and he wrote this like it was like a letter for detention, and he wrote this thing to me and said that he was. I don't know if I'm allowed. Like,
Yeah, it
sorry.
doesn't. You're
Okay, I was
fine.
like, I don't know if there's things I'm not allowed to say, and I'm so sorry. I don't want to like
No.
be too much. He threatened to burn me at the stake and hang me, and was basically it was a whole situation. But anyways, because I was Tongan, and again, I don't think he understood what it meant or where we're from or that it's an island. I don't think he understood any of that. He just understood that I was different.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I ever really felt any kind of hatred, right, for being that
Yeah.
different. But most of my time spent in Santa Cruz was a positive one. That was just unfortunately, I think everybody runs into it from time to time, but that was the first time that I never really realized how different I was from everybody else.
Yeah. How old was you? How old was you when that happened?
14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
And what ethnicity was the guy?
He was Caucasian.
Oh, Caucasian. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
Yeah, that is. But like I said, that was just. I mean, and not just. I shouldn't shrug it off, but most of my time spent in Santa Cruz was positive. That was just happened to be one of the negative times.
Yeah.
right.
But most of it was good. My family was fantastic, and my dad was a huge part of the surfing community there, and my cousins are still to this day. So, like I said, most of my time there was positive. It was just you do run into that from time to time in certain areas there. But I'm hoping that they've grown. I moved out a long time ago, so I'm hoping that the town has grown and people are more accepting. So, yay for them. But yeah, no, growing up, my mom had always told me that I was Tongan. My dad, was like, oh, well, I'm Hawaiian, but you're Tongan. So there is a difference, but we're same, but different. I was like, okay. And yeah, one thing that I'll have to show you someday, sis, but one thing my mom didn't know how to do was hair. She was like, my mom was the 5'5", blonde hair, blue eyed, like had no idea what to do with our kind of hair. So there are so many pictures where my hair is
She's a
just
Madonna.
she's
a Madonna. Yeah.
Yeah, Don King, Madonna, like all kinds of
Right. The
my
Michelle
hair.
Pfeiffer.
Oh gosh.
Right. The Michelle Pfeiffer.
It was
I've seen those pictures.
big, real big. Yeah. So, but she tried. She did try.
Yeah.
And my dad, he always kept his hair short, so he was ready to shave my head at any point. He was just like, let's just do that. That'll be easier for everybody. We'll just shave it. It's fine. But my dad being an Islander as well, he didn't have any of the like the issues that a lot of us have these days. I'm not really sure how that came about, but he escaped the diabetes and the high blood pressure, all of that stuff. So I don't want to say he was lucky. I think he just kept to a really strict diet that unfortunately I sort of missed.
But you know what though? Okay, so let's explain to folks here. Your dad actually is big ups to your dad because like he's known in Santa Cruz
Yes.
as being a surfer, like one of the top surfers. And so I have to ask this because I think most people it's on their mind. Kalinowski. He's
Kalinowski.
Hawaiian, but where does that last name come from?
So Kalinowski is actually Polish. It's Polish. My dad was half Hawaiian and half Polish.
Oh,
Yeah, my grandfather. He moved to Hawaii in the 40s sometime, and met my grandmother. But yeah, so my dad was half Hawaiian, half Polish, and so the ski in my last name is absolutely 100% Polish.
I love it. I love it. I remember seeing your last name and being like, oh, because there's like I'm in San Mateo, so there's always like a lot of ski on the last name.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
European descent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when I seen a picture of your dad, sis, I was like, he looks like grandpa.
Yeah.
Literally. He looks like which is like our mom's father. He looks like he's Hafkasi, but Hafkasi means like half white, but like he's just full. On our side and the Bahulu side, like we have we're Tongan, we're very proud of it, but we look a little different. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's too funny.
But I just want to ask a little bit more questions about your dad and being a surfer. Like, what was that? I mean, because a lot of polys, it's crazy being Islander. Everybody's like, oh, people of the sea, like, do you surf? I'm like, I mean, I swim, but I don't surf. Like, I feel like I boogie board before. But like your dad was really up there, and like, I definitely want to have you discuss about your father and his, contributions to like being like the big up guy in the Hawaii and surfing.
So my dad started surfing back in the day. There wasn't a whole lot of money. There wasn't a whole lot to do there,
Yeah.
I mean, my dad was a kid when, you could go to the movies for a quarter and still get popcorn and soda.
Right.
So yeah, I guess his brother taught him, and then he just started hanging out, and it kept him out of trouble, and then, but the problem is that he would skip school a lot to go surf, and my grandma was not happy about it. So she actually sent him to San Jose to live with his uncle back in the day, and he started hitchhiking over Highway 17 to get into Santa Cruz because he found the surf. So he made a friend, and him and his friend would just surf all day. And the friend's mom, my grandma Rosemary, found out that they were doing that, and so she saw them at the beach one day and said, listen, Rick, you can live with me and my family, but you guys have to go to school. So my dad he moved over 17 to Santa Cruz and never looked back. He met my mom, was drafted in the early 70s, I think. Went to Korea for a couple of years, came back, and yeah, just kept surfing. A lot of people think he would have went pro had he not been drafted, but it happens.
It's major since like we're in this topic, right? And I remember seeing a picture of your parents, and I don't know if you want to say it, or I think I'll have you say it, but basically like when I saw the pictures of your parents, and I saw your dad, I was like, oh, I already knew why Rachel picked him.
Which is so funny because that's what Rachel said too. Is Rachel said that she picked my parents because of my dad. She just had this great feeling about him, and I'm sure she felt the same way about my mom, but mostly it was about my dad. And she just, I don't know. I think partially because he was an Islander, but just the vibe, It's
Right.
everything's a vibe these days. So I guess she had the vibe back then that he was a good dude. So
Right.
yeah. No, I looked out with him. He was a really, really amazing person. Really amazing person. And I'm super, super blessed that Rachel and I'm so sorry, I always call him Scott, but Rachel and Latu picked him.
Oh, okay. So so Latu is your biological father, right? Which
Yeah.
is my dad's brother. Yeah, which is my dad's brother. So it's his younger brother. And her mom, Rachel, is my mom's younger sister. Literally by one step apart. So that's why this is like I always say to people like it's like a zone. It's like being in the Twilight Zone, but kind of cool. Like nothing's hella scary like that. So
Definitely it's different for sure.
Oh yeah, not the Scott. Oh my God, what does Latu mean in Tongan? Latu doesn't mean Scott.
No, I don't know. All I know is it's a common last name.
No.
Dalatu.
No, Latu is like the first name, but
I really wish I could pronounce his entire name.
It wouldn't be Latu.
I don't know.
I'm dead.
I just always knew him as Scott. I had no idea that his name wasn't Scott.
What the hell is Scott?
I don't
Scotty. Like who is Scott?
I don't know, and I honestly
don't know either.
I don't know. They just always told me it was Rachel and Scott, but his name is like so long. It is like an entire alphabet, and I don't know how to say it. So Latu's
silly.
What?
Everybody's just hella silly nowadays. I swear to God.
No, his name is so long. I honestly don't know his name. I honestly don't. I'm sorry.
I know.
But yeah, it's just, and I had to ask you how to pronounce the last name.
Yeah. What is the last name, Kayla? Let me hear it.
No, I can't.
Okay, fine. It's okay. I get it.
Mostly because I can't even spell it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I honestly, it's so crazy because like with Polynesians and being in the water, right? It's like what is it with us? Like we are actually people of the water, and I think in the beginning of this, podcast, I talked about us as a Polynesian people getting into like swimming, getting into surfing, getting to the water because we are people of the sea, right? And I just want to know, like, I think it's just so amazing that like people actually love that, right? Especially Hawaiians, right? Hawaiians, I think. When's the last time you've been to Hawaii?
2008.
Oh my God. It's been too long. Let's go.
Yeah, we're going in January.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
I'm 35.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. He's so old. But yeah, no, I haven't been back since 2008. After he passed, I just kind of didn't go anymore. I don't know why, honestly. I kind of just stopped going. Yeah. But, it happens.
All right. So, question.
Answer.
All right. So, being that you've met us, right, and us being Polynesian and all this, like, what have you noticed about Polynesian culture that you didn't know before?
That each one is so different. Oh my goodness. I just feel like there's obviously so many similarities, but the differences.
Yeah.
They're not, I don't want to say they're like vast, but like some of them I'm just like, oh, okay, well that's interesting. And now I'm not even sure if this is like actually, I probably should have researched this a little bit more, but the rift between Tongans and Samoans. I didn't know. Yeah, there was a gentleman who came into work.
You're like, is there a difference? Right.
Minus the fact that we're short. How did I get the short stick? I don't get it. I'm like 5'3".
You're a tiny girl, sis.
Girl, maybe a height
wise. 5'2". Honestly, you would have been Nana's twin.
I'm 5'3". Thank you. But that's the whole thing is I'm like, how did I get? So why am I short? Why? How? I thought everybody was supposed to be tall, and I'm over here just like 5'3". Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yay for me. But No, there's a gentleman who came in and he was telling me that we spent hours together while he was getting his truck fixed, and he said something about uh, Samoans and Tongans not getting along, and I was like, oh, so I was really intrigued. So we sat outside and he's talking to me, and he's just like, oh yeah, like they don't get along, and I'm like, but why? And yeah, so I was like, I don't. So I think if anything, I've heard a lot of information from different people,
Yeah.
which may or may not be misinformation, right? Like I'm not 100% on that. But being being around Hawaiians for most of my life, and then meeting people from different islands and the different cultures, the food is like the same, but it's different, and I'm like, oh, okay, well I can get down with this.
And that's what I wanted to ask too, sis. Okay, so with this segment, we always talk about PI issues, right? And
Yes.
so we are in the process of talking about diabetes, right? We got
Mm.
diabetes. We started at insulin resistance. We're getting into pre-diabetes right now. But with that being said, I want to know. I understand if you want to share with the viewers. You are diabetic?
I am.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I am. I am diabetic. I have high blood pressure. This is a fun one. I have gout and PCOS.
Oh, okay. And so, okay, so these are very common things that our community faces. And
Yes.
I want to kind of just get into like your what was your upbringing? What was the food, right? The food that you were raised upon. Now, I understand that your parents, your dad is Hawaiian and
Mm.
Bala, which is white,
Yeah.
right? And so your mother is blondie.
Yeah.
I say it in a good way because I actually
No,
love
no.
Adonis
Yeah,
music,
she's
and I do love
absolutely.
Adonis music too. And
Yeah.
so with that, like I want to like have an understanding of what was your upbringing when it came to food.
So a lot of pastas, a lot of starches, a lot of carbs, a lot of things like that, and I think that also just comes from not knowing, right? Like just as little something as like not knowing how to do hair, not knowing predispositions of different cultures. She adopted me, and I think she did the best she could. But back in the day, without all of this information being so readily available at our fingertips now,
Right.
I don't think that was anything that she ever thought of. Uh,
Yes.
and even my dad, like and this is gonna sound kind of probably sexist, but my dad wasn't really one to think about that. That was kind of my mom's job, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
My dad's like, I work, you figure out the food, you figure out the health stuff, and it was just like my mom was just like, okay, well, she's alive, so yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that was ever a conversation. Um, when we found out that I had PCOS, I was 16,
Mm,
which is all good and well, but there wasn't a whole lot of information given to her or myself at that point.
yeah.
They don't realize that that is a huge precursor to diabetes, to heart issues, to all of these things. Just like the gout thing. When I found out, I was actually just talking to Josh about this last night. The doctor was like, well, this is kind of abnormal, and I was like, well, what's abnormal about it? And he was like, this is something that middle-aged men get.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much like what might be causing it or how to avoid it. They're like, here's some medication and a shot in your arm. uh have a great one. I'm like, oh,
Oh, what kind of shot was
okay.
that?
And I can't remember what they gave me, but um they swore up and down that I broke something, and I was like, no, I don't think so. And they did an x-ray, they did a bunch of different tests, and I didn't break anything. So like 3 hours in, the doctor came in, he said, I'm going to give you a shot, and I'm going to give you these 2 pills, and if you feel better in 20 minutes, you have gout. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was the conversation. That was it. So a lot of what I found out was going on has been research either myself or honestly Josh has done. And so a lot of that has
That's
just
your doctor over there.
that,
Okay.
that is my doctor mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mechanic turned doctor. But yeah, so a lot of that, I think that's the conversation that you and I have had too, or as well, whereas being adopted um, by somebody outside of the culture, sometimes that it's not even the ramifications necessarily, but just there wasn't a lot of information at that time.
Yeah.
So she didn't know that, people of color are predisposed to diabetes, to high blood pressure, to heart disease, hyperthyroidism, all of these things that even at this rate, I didn't even find out until I'm 36. So I didn't even start finding out about a lot of this until, gosh, the gout I found out about early on in life, but that was mostly due to a lot of seafood and drinking.
A lot of seafood, you say?
Yeah. So seafood, turkey is one of the worst ones, as well as pork. Turkey has a lot of purines in it. So your oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said something.
No,
So
I'm trying to not cut you off because I have a problem with that. It's a bad issue, and I always tell. Well, I'm sorry because I do this all the time.
Are you good?
no, you're fine.
I know it's bad, but no, please keep going.
Oh yeah, but yeah, so turkey is one of the worst things that people with gout can have. It has a lot of purines, uric acid.
Uric acid.
Yeah, the uric acid in the is what turns into the crystallization on your extremities. So most people have it attacking their feet, their hands, joints. It's just another form of arthritis. So a lot of times people, they kind of bypass that. But a lot of islanders, I think it's even a running joke in Hawaii that people have gout because they're just like, oh, we had a party, and then everyone's sitting in a lawn chair and they're like, I can't walk, and it's
Okay,
it's
sorry.
I know it's
You
terrible.
know this. You know me. It's terrible.
I know, but like it's it's an ongoing joke, but it's a real thing, and
It is.
the diet being mainly seafood, is a huge problem with that. But also because I don't know about the other cultures, but like Hawaii, they like to drink. We're some drinkers, so I actually don't really drink
alcohol or kava.
Sure. But beer is a huge trigger for gout, so I don't drink. I really don't drink anyways, but I definitely can't drink beer. Meat needs to be really watched, but then that's the thing about the different ailments that I have. If you made a Venn diagram of the things I can eat, I can basically eat lettuce.
Yeah,
That's what I should be eating. Clearly,
that.
I know.
You were telling me that, and I told you, I said, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it, but it's also the reason why in the beginning of this whole segment, right, when we're going into diabetes and stuff, is I said that, or just chronic conditions, as I said, the less we consume here, the better, because the pesticides, it's all about chemicals, right? The thing is like when you come from an indigenous background and you're exposed to chemicals, and mind you, right, Kayla and I, we have ancestry that is outside of just Tongan, right? But at the same time, both of our parents are from indigenous places, and they are indigenous in a big way, especially our father's side. And so our fathers, from the most part, you are your father's children, more so with girls when it comes to genetics. And so, the fact is like, I remember Lucy saying something. Do you remember her saying, like, you can't play the game if you don't know the rules?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, Polynesians, right, are not understanding the rules of the game when it comes to food literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not our fault. It's not. Like, I would like to say it was our fault, right? I would, right? But deemed in the certain circumstances that we've all talked about, for instance, right? Sis, you were obviously adopted into a Balangi family, meaning white family, or more Eurocentric family, right? Also Hawaiian as well. But also the diet is more, it's a colonized diet, right? But
Right.
everybody is a part of this colonized diet, not even just us, right?
Hmm.
The fact that PIs like ourselves, right? We have a tendency of looking at food in a certain light, right? And the fact is we do not know the rules, so we cannot play the game, and that's why we're losing. That's why we're losing when it comes to chronic conditions. And it what comes just for and that's just for everybody, sis. It's not even
Sure.
for, it's not even just for us. It's for all minoritized populations. Minoritized meaning, those that are part of PI populations. We are losing in this game,
Hmm.
and it's really sad, right? But it's also extremely like detrimental. And I think, since I've talked to you about my father passing away at 58,
Yeah.
which is really young, and
Oh, yeah.
before we talked to a preacher man that like honestly is a great guy.
Hmm.
Honestly, like I look at pastors as like, people that have, studied the word, a word that I know about, but I have not studied. So
Right.
with that being said, it's something I can learn. And so to actually have this pastor talk about their journey, trying to get better, right, and being 66, it was great.
That's great.
It was great, but also it's not something that I can sit here and be like, you're not doing it, you're not doing it, you're not. It's not even about that.
Hmm.
The fact is we don't know. Like even like being like a bilingual person or what, maybe you've been here for a longer period of time, so you've been exposed to these chemicals at a longer period of time, right? So your body's a little bit more better to generate these type of chemicals that we're ingesting here and on a constant basis. But at the same time, for those that like when I talk about ancestry, like sis, like yes, you are blood, you're my blood.
Hmm.
But I just, to be honest, like I don't love all my blood. That's a lie. But I love you.
Oh, I love you.
I love you for sure. Like that's not even a problem. But I'm really just thank you for coming out here and telling your story and continuing to be on here to tell your story. I know it's hard, you know, but I just hope that other PIs will be more open to sit here and have these conversations, because these conversations aren't easy. They aren't easy. They're hard.
I think that's the part, right? Is the conversations and opening the door to be able to have those conversations and to take responsibility.
Right.
Um, because at a certain point, like, right, I know now. I know now what is going on with me personally, and I have to take responsibility for that now. Um, now, Josh actually said something interesting to me last night about not being so hard on myself for things that I didn't know back then. But like you just said, if you don't know the rules, you can't play the game. I know the rules now. And so now it's my responsibility to, if I want to continue to live and not be in pain, or just to live in general, right? Because as you well know, this can kill you. So it's now my responsibility to better myself. And the only way that we can do that is by keeping the conversation going and by giving that information to those who need it. And to make it, like I said, everything's so accessible now. All that info is so accessible now for everybody. Um, but I think that the conversation, just like a lot of things in life, it starts at home, right? It starts with our parents. It starts with teaching our kids young. My godson, he's 5. And my best friend is a diabetic as well. And so she
I did
keeps
not
that.
know that.
Kimmy, yeah, Kimmy's a diabetic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah, Kimmy is one of my best friends. She's Korean and she's also diabetic. And so that conversation stays open in their household. So that Parker is aware of the things that he is predisposed to, and I think it's important. And I hope we can save him from what her and I go through. You don't want that for your kids, right? You always want better for them. And I think the only way that we can be better for the next generation is to lead the way and show them how and give them all of the information that's possible.
And Kimmy is adopted to
Yep.
Malay parents as well.
Yeah, her mom is Japanese and her dad is actually also Polish. Yeah, she was born in Korea. She was adopted and brought to the States when she was 1. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Kayla,
Yes.
I want to ask you a question.
Of course.
When you were younger, I know you mentioned that there was a lot of information that wasn't available, especially to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
The question I want to ask is, what was your relationship with food when you were younger? You know, because I've had conversations with Pacific Islanders, you know, close family friends
Mm-hmm.
and members who struggle with their weight at a very young age and
Yeah.
are diabetic, or they have some kind of chronic disease. But when I ask them, because you know, when you're younger, you do eat, and then there is a point when you start to notice that you are gaining weight, right? But there's a reason why you keep eating, and one of my friends said that one of the reasons why he kept eating was the way that's how he dealt with his depression. That was just an example, you know.
Emotional eating, absolutely.
To feel better about himself,
Uh-huh.
he would eat.
Mhm.
And that was a kind of that was his relationship with food. It was a way for him to make himself feel better when he didn't feel good about himself, even though he saw that he was gaining weight. But
Mhm.
that was his only way of him feeling better about himself was eating.
Oh,
So
sure.
what was your relationship with food back then? And then what is your relationship with food now? Now you have the knowledge. Now you don't want
Right.
to die early. So now
Right.
you have a different relationship with food
Mhm.
and a little bit more control because
Yeah.
you know the consequences.
Mhm.
But so that was my question: is what was your relationship with food younger, and what is your relationship with food now?
So I had a really poor relationship with food when I was younger. Um, being when I was younger, food wasn't about nourishing your
Yeah,
body. It was just whatever tasted good, whatever was fast, whatever was, you don't, not you, but me personally, I didn't think about the nourishment. I wasn't thinking about, hey, this is chock full of, vitamins that I need. No. I was like, oh, look at the pizza. Yay, pizza.
yeah,
And I wasn't thinking what the carbs were doing, that they're turning into sugar, how much sugar I was ingesting, what this was doing to me. And then uh, the food slowly was replaced with alcohol consumption. And then it was more and it wasn't so much, I was choosing alcohol over food, but I realized that, oh, if you don't eat and you're drinking more on an empty stomach, well, that was a fast one. Now you're just where you want it to be so much faster. And then it became, not so, again, a different relationship with food, again, that's not healthy, because at that rate you're not eating, you're choosing to drink over to eat. And then I found out, oh wow, you have gout, so I had to change something else.
yeah,
Hey, you're a diabetic, okay, you change that. So steadily as I've gotten older, my relationship has changed, because obviously, for obvious reasons, for what you just stated, I
yeah,
don't want to die young. I don't want to feel, the way that gout makes you feel, which, walking is kind of pertinent. So
Yeah.
I want to keep doing that. Kind of
yeah,
like it. But, so taking out, and I mean, the long and the short of it is more so that at a young age, I don't even want to call it a relationship. There was no relationship. It was just kind of there, whatever was quick, easy, and it tasted good in my head was what I ate.
yeah.
And now, I try to take more time and make sure that it's nourishing, and hitting all the points that I needed to hit while still being good for the structure of the diet that I need to be on.
Yeah. Was there a specific point of time when you were younger that you had like a revelation, realized like, oh, this is really making my life more sufferable physically, and I really do need to make a change, but you found it really really hard to make that change. Like, was there a specific moment in your younger days that you kind of realized that this is probably not a path that you want to go, but you had a hard time fighting it because you didn't know you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the I guess the inspiration, motivation to change.
Sure. So yeah, I want to say probably about 16, 17. I started really gaining more weight. I had just moved down to Southern California, and kind of like your friend, food was comforting, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, well, if nothing else, food's there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I apologize. And so was I still played softball throughout high school, and I was trying to run. I think I was running lines, and oh man, it was getting rough, and I was like, wow, this is this breathing thing. It's not getting as easy as it used to be.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh gosh, I need to drop some of this weight because it's rough carrying all that around with you whilst trying to run. You're kind of slow, but in that time, it was really difficult. I think it was such a number of things that made it difficult. My relationship that already wasn't healthy with food.
Yeah.
Kind of the lack of tools and information that I needed to be able to make those healthier decisions. And what we kept in the house, the fact that that I don't want to say like, oh, I didn't have a say in our grocery list, but my mom was going out to plan for meals, so she wasn't exactly gonna stop and be like, oh, you just want lettuce, okay, that wasn't really a thing. She was making what she was making, and that's what we're having.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what though, sis? I mean, I definitely will piggyback off of you with that, right? Being young too at a point, right? Right. Like I remember just being so addicted to sugar, dude. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to cut it out. And like, like my mom was mean. Like Tyler just mean. They be like, and they don't even tell you nothing. They're just mean and they just say crazy shit to you all the time. And I love mom, this Kayla, like, but like when it comes to, mothers and daughters in Tongan communities, like it's hardcore.
Hmm.
Like, right, there was no holding back,
What specific foods
Oh.
you're addicted to?
Man, I like all types of really sugary stuff, any types of cookies, candies, like anything that was gummy,
Like sweets.
like sweets, like even if it looked like fruits. Like I'd be like, oh, fruits are really sugary. I want it, And so there is this like innate, especially when you're a child, right? If you're exposed to a certain amount of sugar, you will always want it. And you don't even know it. But we didn't have the information back then, right? And so for the most part, I mean, honestly, my mom didn't let me eat a lot of certain things. Like we did fast food. It was like you feel me? Like it was like you get McDonald's today, like. But when it comes to sugar and stuff, like it was like, man, like I mean, a lot of the food was at home, but I get it from outside sources, right? Um,
Connection just dropped.
connection down. Okay.
Well, we'll take some time right now.
Yeah.
As you guys are watching right now, as always, thank you so much for watching so far. For everybody on the live chat. All right, don't forget.
There she's
There
back.
she is. She's back. Let's get that live chat popping. I know there's a couple of you guys watching right now. I see 4240s participating on the live chat. So thank you so much. But we'll keep it moving. There we go. We have her back.
So sorry.
No, but like it was like, especially with grandma, like I know you didn't meet her before she passed away, but grandma was like, she just, they just say things. Just like your dad's family, they just say things. They don't really have any, they don't really have anything to say about it. And like I don't know, but I just remember just being like so addicted to the sugar thing because it gave me a high. right? And so now, as we pull into 2023, we're starting to know that like sugar for kids, like it's causing ADHD, which
Mhm.
means that like the sugar, the gummies, right? Even the fruit snacks that you're giving your kids, even like the Capri Suns that you're bringing to your son's like frosh off team, like little football team, those like Pop Warner teams, the cookies, the candies, the rewards that you're giving your children for being good is is fucking them up. Excuse my language, but it literally is fucking them up. But we didn't know that beforehand. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Because
Right.
as a child, when you give me sugar, I say, "Oh my god, I've done something right," and now it makes me feel good. Well,
Mhm.
you don't fully understand this because you're in Tonga and there's such little, little. There's not a lot of access to it, you know. But for
Mm.
those that are out here, right? And it would be really interesting to get men out here to talk about that as well, right? Um, but for those that are out here that have access to it, they'll understand the sugar rush when you're a child. It's undeniable. Like you just know that you don't know why, but you fucking want it. And so you build relationships with people off of it, right? You go to school, you make friends with kids at your elementary, your middle school, your high school, and then you talk about these snacks, you talk about these like places to eat, right? Because it's a communal thing, right? We've made food a communal thing, right? And as much as I believe in community, as much as I'll say this, community is built on food and it probably needs to stop or retract it back to better food options we can build on. Built through information, but information through conversation first, because not everybody will know, the biology, right?
Mhm.
And so we want to put that in here and we will at a slower pace. But not everybody understands that. Not everybody can understand it because you would have to understand biology 101. You would have to understand, anatomy. You would have to, and so we'll do it at a slower pace. But all I can say is we will start looking at more videos on TikTok about the addiction that it had that sugar has on children, right? And it grows into your adulthood, right?
Mhm.
So this is why I say when it comes to these, conversations that we have, I'm not saying that self-efficacy is not important and the theory of behavior is not important, right? And these are two strong points that a lot of psychiatrists and a lot of like nutrition and public health people, we focus on, right? Is like what is creating these behaviors, right? Well, what is creating these behaviors? We're not actually looking at the actual source here. Okay, we're not looking at media. We're not looking at things that we tend to buy because we don't have the time to cater to our children. We don't. We just know we have to work and we have to provide. And if we provide enough, then that means we're doing enough. And when it comes to food, food has become an actual source of like, oh, this is like a thing that I give to my child when they're doing well in school. We want our kids to be good. We want our kids to be smart. This is what I'm rewarding them is food based, right? And so it just goes to show that like it's not necessarily an individual based fault, it's policy based. It's policy based, it's systematically based. It's not even about all of that other stuff. And um I think thank you so much for like telling your navigation process through this whole situation because it shows a big part of what's happening. Yes, genetics plays a very good part of it. This is the reason why we're experiencing this as a people. We're experiencing this is like sis like diabetes is more prevalent amongst Polynesians at a 2.5 rate, more so than white folks here, right? And that's major because the white population in the US is at a 70%. We're only at a zero point 0.4, and so when it comes to race and stuff, that's a big jump. Even if you were, a part of a certain situation, right? It wouldn't have mattered,
Mm,
so it is a lot of biologic, there's a lot of science that's brought into this. And so, I just want to like put that in there and just say that, like, at the end of the day, like, I commend you for just taking the response, to taking the lead in something you had no control over.
thank you.
No
It's
problem,
sweet.
of course.
Hey, Kayla, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What for people out there right now that's watching and they are currently on the same path as you are, or probably have the same circumstances as you are, the way they were brought up and their relationship with food. What is right now? Because you mentioned that you have gout, you have other, you're diabetic. So I just want them to know, like, this is the reality of what happens if you eventually get to this point. So what are the things that you cannot eat? You explain all the things that you cannot eat, the things that you cannot, that the doctor has recommended. Hey, these are the things you absolutely cannot touch. Because your lifestyle is a lot different now,
Right.
because you're at a point right now that you have to make sure that you gotta be able to take care of it, because eventually it might affect you, and you might affect your life potentially, right?
So there's nothing that there's no, they've never said you can't have any of this, you can't have any of that.
Yeah,
What it is just absolute moderation. Um,
moderation. Okay.
absolute moderation. I mean, we're talking about sugar and everything. Sugar, again, if I'm gonna choose to eat something sweet now, it should be fruits opposed to processed sugars, right? If I choose to have some type of protein, meat based, it should be a 3 ounce serving of chicken opposed to, maybe a giant steak or
Okay.
pork, especially, Kaloa pork, huge in Hawaii. But we're gonna go ahead and skip that, and you know what I mean, get some chicken instead, or make it at the house. Sodium needs to be as low as possible.
Yes, sodium. Yeah.
Sodium's a big problem. You know, just everything in moderation, and to just choose. You're craving something sweet. Okay, cool. Sugar-free Jello is amazing. It is actually my new favorite thing.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Monica about that the other day, but it's so good.
Did you see on my Insta what I made yesterday?
I may have. I'm
I
so
know
sorry.
it looked weird, but it was a cauliflower and squash pizza.
Oh, yum.
That sounds disgusting.
I
Oh
know,
my goodness.
I know it does. And so I present it because we're gonna eat it, you and I.
So
It's
cauliflower.
actually really good. It's really good.
I love cauliflower crust. It
With
actually.
cheese on it?
There's a little bit, but not too much.
So again,
What sauce?
Tiny bit.
Sauce?
A little bit, but not a lot.
Okay.
so even at that point, right? Like, so cheese. I can still have cheese. I just need to make sure that the dairy, fat-free dairy.
Okay.
Yeah. So just replacing it with that. As far as like pasta sauces and stuff, that one of those easy canned tomatoes or fresh tomatoes, whichever you prefer.
Mm.
Some garlic, olive oil, and a little bit of salt. You know what I mean? It makes a great pasta sauce. um, Cauliflower crust opposed to regular crust, and just making like adjustments.
Yeah.
One of the best things, I think, and one of the easiest things, because you don't want to deprive yourself. I feel like, and I can't speak for other people, but trying to go cold turkey on anything is just so difficult. And I end up, I can't say you, I end up going back to it, right? I'm like, no candy. And then I have nothing sweet, and I'm just like, oh, and that's when I fail.
You're like, where's the gummy bears?
Right. Give me all the candy is like, and that's where I would fail. Completely depriving yourself of something, it's already difficult because you're making a change, but completely depriving yourself and going cold turkey on any of these types of things, especially something that you have, for lack of better terminology, an addiction to, you end up failing, right? And you go back.
Yeah.
And so making swaps, kind of just swapping this for that,
Okay.
I feel like is really helpful. It's really, really helpful. At least it's helpful to me. And I hope it helps.
Yeah, that's what works best for you, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that, just little bits here and there. So like sodas, that was a giant. Oh,
Yeah.
The sugary beverages.
and now if I try, I accidentally popped one of the kids open the other day and it tasted like syrup. And I was like, oh, well, that's not mine. And it was
Yeah.
absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But after a while, you kind of get used to your swaps, right? And it's just kind of normalcy at that point for you. But a lot of things that are, sugar free, they're actually not even terrible. Jello, it's great. I never thought that I would like it without it, but it still allows me to have like a dessert, but a sugar free one.
Yeah.
A dessert that won't kill me. That's fun.
So, sis, you're a good cook, right? So I know you cook, right? Are
I,
you cook? I know this is what you do. So
I
what
do.
do you cook for yourself, like on a basis to like when you're creating meals for yourself, as
Um,
someone that's trying to keep their health up?
So there was this really awesome thing that we found at Costco. It's called Flavor God, and it's a sodium-free seasoning. So I try to go with a seasoning opposed to like, 'cause I don't know if this you. I love to dip everything in something. I'm like, oh, ketchup or ranch or this or that, which is full of sugar. Hi, all the sugar. So a huge thing I try to do is because I still want to have flavor in my meal. I just have to figure out a different way to do it.
Yeah.
So we use Flavor God on like everything. It goes with everything, and
Flavor dog.
Flavor
Actually,
God. Yeah, it's at
Flavor
Costco.
God.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Flavor
Yeah.
God at Costco.
Uh-huh. Yep, and it's sodium free and it's delicious. Um, and then I try to make little swaps like that. So I do eat if I'm gonna do protein, it's generally eggs in the morning because they keep you full. It's a good protein source, and for people with PCOS, it's supposed to help keep you fuller and less snackish, if you will. And then dinner is generally some type of chicken, vegetable, and if I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, I have some carbs to spend this week, maybe like a tricolor pasta. But it's with everything that so when I first found out that I had gout, obviously you have to make some swaps there. And then, like I said, with the Venn diagram, if you really look at all of that, basically I should be living like a vegan. But that is difficult. I give props to people who can live that way because, and whether it be out of necessity or just out of want, congratulations, because that is so hard for me. That is so difficult.
That's hard.
But again, with making little swaps here and there, fried tofu is delicious. I love it now.
Okay. So, I tried this like pokey place down the street over here at Market. So I work,
Yeah.
I work down the street from this podcast, literally
Mhm.
on 49 in Van Ness. So me and my coworkers, we go to the market. The market has a pokey place, right? And I have never been a big thing of pokey. One is because I like my fish cooked and I don't need to eat it raw.
Oh,
Unless it's sushi.
yeah.
Sushi's fine.
Okay.
But like I just don't want to do all that. And so I decided to get the poke bowl, right? And when the poke bowl, they get like so I got the kale noodles, which is still kind of like getting rice, right? But I just got it with the tofu. I didn't get it with the fish because I don't want to do all that. And the sauce was pretty bad because there's sauce in it. There's a spicy mayo, which is terrible for you. But it's not that bad if do like 2 or 3 tablespoons, maybe just two. I'm being greedy by saying three. 2 tablespoons, right? And then the spicy chili sauce is okay if it's just like one dribble. But that shit was hella good. I was like, I can do this.
You never eaten you never eaten otaika?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
You like that?
Otaika. My mom made me eat it when I was younger. And as I grew up, I realized that I loved it.
Okay.
But it depends on who makes it.
That's
You
true.
get sick off of it.
That's true.
You get sick off of it. I don't
Yeah.
get sick off of that. Hell no. You don't get sick off of it. But
Yeah.
no, I love all type of fish.
Yeah.
I think as PIs, we have to worry about being, eating too much of it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Raw fish.
Yeah, just
Seafood in general.
Well, I don't.
not if you're already in the diabetic phase.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
not if you're already in the diabetic phase.
Yeah.
That is true. Yes. And I don't know whether diabetes is caused from fish itself. What do you know, sis? Tell me.
Um, so I can't have the fish because of the gout.
Yes.
Um, I don't know that I have too much of an issue with the diabetes portion and fish, but because of the gout, that's where a lot of the animal protein comes into play.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the diabetes is just most, the carbs and the sugars.
Yeah.
PCOS is a little bit of all of it. And the high blood pressure, and I don't have heart disease, but obviously that can lead to it. Is the sodium intake, cholesterols, and all of that other good stuff that also comes from animals. Yay!
FYI, though, so there is a couple new studies, but this is like back in 2018, 2019. It's not that fish is bad, right? It's not,
Hmm.
right? It does cause gout, right? But it's not necessarily the fish itself, it's the chemicals that are in the fish.
Yes.
So if you were to get, for instance, right, this is shitty. I hate this because it's going to make everybody not want to eat and starve themselves, right? Or just like do these insane intermediate fastings, or it makes no sense. Um, but a lot of chemicals that are put in our products, especially meat products, right, are what causes these like different inflammations in the body, right? And so when it comes to fish, right, the reason why, you know, you're saying, and your doctor is telling you this is because you're right. It is, right? It's one of the benefactors of what's happening in your body, right? Is
Hmm.
there are certain chemicals that you can buy, like for instance, like the fish that you find at Costco, the wild fish in the big blue bags. I'm not saying that they're bad, but I'm also not going to say that they're good, right? Because the thing is like in PIs, we eat so much of it, right? We have this idea of the abundance, right? If I'm eating a lot, that means it's good, right? We don't have there's a limitation issue. There's the limitation issue is only there based on the fact that we've been predisposed to sugar, sugary drinks, all that. It makes us more hungrier than we actually are. Back in the islands, when you don't have that, or you're from indigenous places, you're not as hungry, right? And the fact that you're over here and there's a larger, we talked about this in the beginning, sis, right? A lot
Mm.
of times you're in the US, you're exposed to so much sugar out here that you tend to ingest so much without knowing. Like for instance, like um the maybe the beverage, the everybody's into like the tapioca drinks, right? The boba. I get it. They're hella good. Or like different sugary drinks, even if it is, this is also questionable. And consumer protection hasn't actually had an able to get anything to do with it because that's a state level regulation, right?
Mm.
But when it comes to sugary free products, we have to look at the chemicals that are involved in that, right? And one of the chemicals that is involved in that is aspartame. And aspartame is the oldest type of chemical that still hasn't been banned. It still hasn't. What it does to your body, and I actually will probably do some YouTube and TikTok videos about that I feel is credible. But we have to look at those in a big light because it's a business out here. It is a business. Like when you go to your doctor, and I'm not saying the doctors are bad. I actually feel like doctors are the greatest people I've known. in my entire life. Even people that have gone to school and studied it, in the midst of getting it, like, because the truth is like they understand that there's a way to save our communities, there's a way to save our people. So they're doing it in the whole reason to do that. So, right. But at the same time, we abide by a system. The system that we abide by will give them their job qualifications and their job responsibilities. Therefore, they can only do what their system allows them to do, which is why I say that everything is policy based. The information that we are talking about right now, um, it with a heavy heart, I say that yes, we are going to talk about the best ways and the best practices, right? But at the end of the day, it's like it 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 is such a criminal thing for me not to say that this entire system right now is against us in a big way. It's not fully against us, but we are living in a capitalistic country, and it doesn't serve anybody, regardless of your color, right? At this point, because yes, there's a color serves a big part of it, but a certain percentage of it, it's about really also the amount of money you're making. You know what I mean? Like, it is social economic status. It is the social economic status that pulls into it. And what is fucked up about it is minoritized populations are in the lower income status. And even if we want to believe, right, those that are part of families that are in the higher income status or middle income status, right, our biological needs are still not fully understood and met by our systematical needs in the healthcare system based on that.
So,
People would have known it. We're too small of a population. They want to categorize us as API. But is that really what we are? I don't know. It's questionable. So I always say ask questions. It's not a big deal to be like, I don't know if I believe that. Why? Oh, I'm going to tell you why I don't believe that because of this. You know what I mean? Like, I want to tell you the reason why I don't believe that. And I want to see if this is real. Like, and I think there's like a whole bigger picture when we talk about this. But what's your emphasis?
now you mentioned that the system, right? Um, I kind of have a thing about systems. Um, a lot of people say the system's broken. This is might be an unpopular opinion. I actually don't believe that the system's broken.
Yeah.
I think it's functioning the way that it's supposed to, and I think that it's not that we need to fix the current system. We need an entire new one.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, it might be an unpopular opinion. It's just one of those things that I believe that it's functioning the way that it's supposed to,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate for a lot of
It's
us,
not the way it's
right?
supposed to.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, it's probably an unpopular opinion, and I do apologize because
Right.
I'm
It's
definitely not
fucking
trying
the way
to.
it's supposed to.
Yes,
Right.
but
But
it's not so much that we need to fix the current one that we have. It's more so I feel like we need an entirely new one.
right.
But like I said, it's unpopular, but it is what.
No, no, no.
But
Yeah.
hopefully we get there as a country.
Mhm.
Hopefully we get there, and we kind of put health, mental, physical at the forefront, because I feel like that's not a whole lot of what we do. Um,
Right.
as a we there's a lot of conversations about it in
Mm.
this country, about health being physical, mental, whichever way. But what are we really doing? What are we really doing? I think is my problem with the entire situation. Like, do you remember back? I think it was in the '90s, maybe early 2000s, and they were just like, "Oh, McDonald's is terrible for you, or this is terrible for you." Okay, cool. But there's still one on every corner. And we weren't doing a whole lot to kill that advertising. We're still out there, we're not talking about fruits and vegetables. Maybe in California, but what about the rest of the country? because we are where a lot of the ag is coming from, right? The Central Valley is where a lot of the ag is coming from. But again, we're still, into fast food restaurants being the main billboards that you see everywhere. And, everything is just, we don't talk about things that, like health swaps, like the three of us can have that conversation, but that's not something that we talk about regularly, and I do believe it's a countrywide conversation that needs to happen. I do believe that it's a conversation that needs to happen in the home. I just, I talk a lot, and I feel like there's a lot of other people that need to talk a lot too.
No, I love it. I love it.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like that conversation isn't one just that can stop here. It needs to continue. And it's something that I hope that it does continue. I hope that it does, starts as small as with Kimmy's dining room table, and in a conversation such as this, in a conversation in my home and your own homes, and so on and so forth.
Right. And it's just like it's been such a like I am so thankful that like we met and we're like together and like we know each other, because a lot of the things that we are, we have gone through, are so similar,
Mm.
so similar. Um, I won't talk about it too much about myself, but yes, like being in at that age, and being addicted to sugar is so much so that I didn't realize it, and I actually had to, I went to the doctors with mom, and they were like, "You're about to have heart issues," and it was like a whole situation because um, I didn't realize it. There's so many things I didn't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's major because like, dad like passed away to 58. So like I was feeling it a hella more at a younger age,
Mm-hmm.
because like honestly, your dad's probably like the healthiest one out of all the brothers. Like seriously. He was the best player, ball player, everything.
Okay, let's be for real, Monica.
Literally, like when it comes to like,
Pardon me.
athletics and all that other stuff, like for sure.
And then what happened? Because, sorry.
But like, yeah, no, this is like major. I think it's like a whole thing, and like, I think after going through what I had gone through, with, like my mom, and like going through the doctor situation at like
Mm-hmm.
I was like 15, 14, no, about to be 15,
Mm-hmm.
and people, tonguers are just like so, out with it. And I was just like, okay, so, I went through that whole situation, but only because I was diagnosed really early.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you were diagnosed at a later time, and I was diagnosed really early. So, and like you and I are like literally twins. When I say we're twins, I mean like we're twins. Like both of our moms are sisters, both of our dads are brothers, obviously from different families, but we also like Kayla is like a month younger than I am. So like the truth is like we are very similar in a big factor. And so your health really is very different amongst everybody. But at the end of the day, it's also extremely the same, right? Because the symptoms were really the same in a big sense. Because I remember hearing it like, you know, all this other things, the same things that you heard is what I heard, but at a younger age.
All right. All right. Any more questions? Are you good?
I mean, I don't know. I just like Kayla. So, what'd you do today? I'm kidding. No, I'm actually not. What did you do today? Like, I'm curious. Like,
Oh, I was like, I just went to Kimmy's and hung out with my godson.
oh, Okay, so like when are we gonna go and like do like a like picnic thing because it's still hot and it's November. Like it's not raining. Let's do it.
We will definitely plan something, I promise. I'll bring my dog.
Lovely. Love it. Okay, so Will,
Yep.
you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
And so
Yes.
but like I think, when it comes to I think I haven't asked this question. Can I be honest? Can I ask you this question?
Yeah, of course.
How did you feel knowing about the adoption? Like, how did you feel knowing that like we were here? And then, like, tell me a little bit about that.
I had no idea you guys were there. Um, I had no idea where any of you guys were. I, my mom and my dad had told me that I was adopted. Probably ever since I could comprehend, and mostly because I asked my mom, like, why do we look so different? But no, they actually, my dad's explanation of adoption was something that I'll carry with me forever. That Rachel made the hardest decision that a woman can make, and she did it out of love. And that is how I should always feel, is loved, because she gave me up, which she wanted a better life for me. And that was the biggest token of love. My dad used to tell me this all the time. That was the biggest token of love that any person can give to another person, is to
Yeah.
give up your child for a better life.
Yeah.
And so, but honestly, up until 2020, it was, oh gosh, Auntie Kalo in Australia, I think, who contacted me first and was like, "Oh yeah, I think I know your mom." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well this is awkward. Why are you in Australia?" And she was like, "Yeah, I think I know your mom." And I was like, "Okay." She goes, "Let me contact them and make sure it's okay that we, exchange all this." And then your mom called me. I was still in Seattle, and your mom called. I was at work, and she is just bawling her eyes out, and I'm like, "I am so sorry to be so rude, but who is this?" And she told me, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, well, hello." And so we had like an hour-long conversation. Um, and then she told me where you guys lived. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. Are you telling me that you've lived an hour and a half away from me my entire life?"
Yeah.
That is crazy. So up until 2020, I had no idea where you guys were located.
It was a big step for me. And like,
Mm-hmm.
for the law, like I think I'm gonna bring this up because I think we should, right? And like in tongue and customs, right? The adoptions are usually they happen in the family, right?
Mm.
And like Will, right? This happens in your family, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like it's a big thing. And so, it's like it happens in our own families. And so I think that it's kind of unique that it happened outside of it. But the thing is what do you think about this? Go ahead.
Well, no, it's not that. Well, I didn't even know up until I met our grandma that anybody even had thought about taking me in from our family, on our dad's side, of course. That was the first I'd ever heard of it. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know that a lot of times, and actually didn't learn until I was older, that a lot of times when Islanders do put their children up for adoption, that it's generally within the family, that they generally stay within the family. Because it happened to my aunt, my dad's oldest sister. She was born before my grandparents were married, and my grandmother Moy gave her to her sister. And so she was raised as a cousin. And when my grandmother Moy passed away, that's when they all found out that she was actually their sister.
Right.
But so when grandma was like, "Oh, she wouldn't let you say," I was like, "I don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't understand what's going on." And you had to explain to me like what that meant. Um, And it's been a journey, and it's been a great one. It's just, you kind of learn things as they come out, and you're just like, oh, that's new information that I was not privy to.
Right.
Cool. But yeah, as far as like knowing where you guys were, I had no clue you guys were in the Bay Area.
I will say something that like um I wanna just like bring it out there as like um
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that because I know it's a lot and I know it's also but I also understand that you're like a strong person, so
Oh, thank you.
you're
That's so
able to
sweet.
share these things and be okay with sharing these things.
Oh yeah, no,
Because like in our community itself, like we tend to when we give kids up for adoption, it's in the family.
hmm
It is in the family. It's never outside of the family, so that we keep the kids in the family. And so, um, knowing that, like, 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 I think you kind of had an idea based on your aunt, right? Since your dad is Hawaiian, correct?
yeah. So,
You had an idea of it.
not to that extent. I never really. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't feel it until Grandma said something. Um, I didn't feel anything about it until Grandma said something, and then it kind of
How did it
it
make you
it jolted me for a little while. It honestly, it was just kind of like, whoa. And it was a lot more to do with Rachel than it was anything else. It was just more of like a, hey, I guess I could have been within the family, uh,
feel?
but I can imagine that that would have been difficult for her.
Right. But sis, I also want you to let you know that Scott was in the picture.
Okay, if you call
Literally
him
was
Scott
in the
one more time.
he was in the picture of the adoption. So yes, Latu. He was in the picture of the adoption. So he was there too.
Oh
He
yeah,
didn't make the final decisions, but he was definitely there too.
yeah. I know. Fun fact: I actually
Show
have.
the dynamics, right? Goes
Yeah,
to show the dynamics of our actual culture here,
well, I have.
right?
It's weird because I actually have pictures of all four of them.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Okay, there goes my phone.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know what is going on with my entire life right now, but either way, sorry. Um, yeah, I have pictures of all of them. Apparently, we all got back together when I was one, and they were just like, "Look, let's all take a family picture."
Your
Seems
dad is like towering over everybody
I know,
in the picture. Oh my god, Latu's like hella tall. He's hella big.
and I'm 5'3", so
I know. You took after Rachel. She's tiny,
yeah, she is for
tiny.
sure.
Um, no, but it goes to show the dynamics of our culture. The dynamics of our culture is our men really don't have like a backbone in that situation, right? But I also have been very open about it with my dad.
hmm
I've been very open about it when it comes to like being like this type of like masculine man or whatever we call it nowadays, or even just being a good human being, right? To make a decision because that's your seed. You don't
hmm
actually know that. That's not something that our community practices when it comes to the men. The men don't make the actual decisions, right? Which is really, really some type of weird issue because when it comes to like even and I don't know what we believed in before, sis. I don't.
hmm
But what I do know that what we believe in now is Christian based, and so the man is supposed to be the head, the woman is the neck, right? And the truth is like there's not even that, but that happens in a oppressed society. It does. Like it happens in an oppressed society that doesn't want to like fully comprehend it. Like we're so new into this whole game in the US that like when this situation happened, he kind of just like I just feel like even my father, right? They kind of just went along with whatever. So as much as we want to pretend, like not even pretend, but like preach on like culture, it's as much we have to realize that at this point we don't even know. Sometimes a lot of the times we are unsure of what that is. What is that? That's question, because that doesn't sound like something that's cultured. It sounds like something that we don't know what the hell that is. So it's a weird, it's a hard topic to talk about, but it's real. What do you think?
I think I'm still kind of learning, if you will, within the culture.
This is an outside observer. An outside observer. What does this look like to you? This looks I know what this looks like to me. You know what I mean? For sure. And I'm
Yeah.
saying out very loud. But it really looks very sad.
I think it can be. I feel like it might be case by case, kind of relationships, right? Case by case, choices like that, case by case. I can't really put an opinion together, mostly because I am like 3 years old to this entire situation.
Correct. Right.
But I think like with anybody, uh, there are things that need to be worked on, and but that just goes for everybody's culture, right? That there's just always these types of things that I feel like it's very case by case though.
Absolutely. Because as much as it was held, right, on
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, your mom, right,
Mm.
is as much as, Scott or Latu was standing right there in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And this, there was no decision there on him,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
But it's easy for our society to pinpoint it on the woman. It's very easy. But it is very much so a two-person choice. But in our culture, it is only the woman's choice. It is
Okay.
only the woman's choice. But in that picture, all I saw was Scott, Latu, okay, and your mom,
Mm-hmm.
Rachel,
No.
biological mom. Sorry,
Oh, you're fine.
that's the only people I saw in those pictures, really.
Mm-hmm.
So all that really means is he was there in the process.
Sure.
He was there in the process, and in the process was just there.
Mm-hmm.
There was no decision made on his part.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that there was no decision made on this part means a lot. It represents our culture, because this is not the first time I've ever heard of this type of situation when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
like, PI relationships or PI people having children. This is like the 10th or 1000th.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay. It's weird.
It is weird.
What's your thoughts?
No, it's just I think it's just part of the culture. When we don't really give our kids to uh, the government or agency. We just give it to our own family members.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it happen to some of my family members. If they can't take care of the baby, they'll just give it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if there's somebody that's looking for one.
Sure.
So yeah, it's I think for me it's just something that I just see that's normal. That's part of the culture.
Yeah.
It's if somebody can't take care of the baby, even though it is unfortunate that that baby can't be raised by their own biological parents.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, at least, you still stay within the family. Because
Yeah.
in America, most they'll just give it away to the government or some orphanage.
Right. Right.
So our Pacific Islander culture, we like to keep it within ourselves. We are
Mhm.
all family. So yeah, it's kind of unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like that.
Yeah.
It really does seem like that.
Yeah.
And what
Special.
about the decision? I definitely want to know your input about that. The decision between both, the mother and the father being there during the decision of adoption. I think I mentioned that, but I would like to know your opinion on that. I feel like our culture has this dominant nature with women, where we put everything on the women, which is great, right? But it's also like at some point, men should be men and step up, right? It can't just be a one-sided thing because as we saw, Kayla, both of them were in the picture. I mean, my God, Latu was towering over even the picture, and we almost didn't even see his face. Like,
Yeah, but I think our culture, you don't necessarily have to be raised by your biological parents, because for me, I grew up with my grandma. My
Mhm.
parents were in the West. They were working to support themselves financially and send money back home.
Mhm.
So I necessarily didn't grow up with my biological parents. I grew up with my grandma, my aunties. So I think that's something that's normal in our culture. Like you don't really have to. I mean, if you grow up with your biological parents, it's cool. It's great. But if you're raised by your auntie, but if you're raised by your grandma, um, it's something that we don't see. I think for us is that's just also another way of being raised.
Right.
So I think for Americans or for the Western, if you don't get raised by your parents specifically, they may see that as a problem. But for us growing up, when I was being raised by my grandma with all my cousins living all in the same house,
Mhm.
we never had the discussion where I wish I was raised by my parents. And like we never had that discussion because
yeah,
being raised all together with the cousins was just a normal thing for us.
Yeah. How
you know?
fun.
Yeah. So yeah. And I had some cousins that were adopted. They were given to somebody else, but we all lived together. Yeah, it's I think it's more of the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really, really depends on the person that was adopted. How that affects them. If that's different.
Mhm.
So I know some people who were adopted. They had a problem with it, but I know some people who were adopted, and we all lived together in the same house, and we didn't grow up with we weren't raised by our parents, and that conversation never was brought up. So I think it's a case by case basis based on the
Mm.
individual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, but yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, we've come
Yeah.
to the end of the podcast, Kayla.
Well, thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you
It.
so much. Thank you so much, Kayla, for jumping on as a special guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening up your life and
Mhm.
share things that you said that you never shared before, and you shared it here tonight. Um, thank you so much for your time. I just
Thank you,
want to ask
guys.
you,
Thank you.
yep, and thank you to all the viewers. Thank you to people to participate in the live chat. But Kayla, what's your final thoughts from tonight's discussion
Uh,
and from tonight's podcast? Like, what's your final thoughts from tonight?
I actually, this was a really, really, it was a really special experience. I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much. Um, I like what you guys are doing, trying to open that conversation. I think it's really special, and I think it's really important. So just keep doing y'all.
Okay, can you come in person, please? One of these.
I'll come watch you guys.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
just sit in the corner and talk in the corner.
You're silly.
I don't do this.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
No. But I
Okay.
really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're always welcome. Whenever you're in town in San Francisco, don't forget to let us know. You can drop in.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Okay. All right, Kayla, you have a great night. Okay, thank you
You
so much
too.
for taking the
Take
time.
care. Thanks, guys.
Love you, sis.
I love you, sis.
And of course, everybody out there in the live chat, thank you so much for tuning in. For our special guest interview for tonight. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe so you get notifications when we do go live next time. We are working on different guests, different Pacific Islanders we're going to invite to come on to the studio, whether it's virtual, whether it's in studio, to do one-on-one interviews. I know we did one last week with Pastor Tawina, and then now we did one tonight with Kayla. So we're definitely going to invite more people, more Pacific Islanders from different walks of life to talk about different things. So I appreciate you guys on the live chat and always tuning in. And Monica, final thoughts?
Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for, listening to what we were talking about today. Obviously, PIs aren't in just a box. Like, we're in a broad variety of different situations. And so I think that it was really important to, you know, maximize that thought. Also, thank you so much, Kayla, for being on here and for being strong, but like she's tremendously strong. So it doesn't even matter. I know she was down to just talk her truth. And I really, I want to like advocate for folks to come up here and talk their truth about any situations that are going on in our community. Please join our podcast and talk about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. As always, I'll see you guys next time. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow. Last podcast show for the week. After Dark, dating and relationships. All the single people out there. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Peace, y'all.